Well, hello life groups. It is good to be with you and welcome to our Life Plus Taster Night. Hopefully so far you've had some food together, unless you're having it after this bit, and you've had a good time of fellowship. What I wanted to do was capture the experience of a Life Plus night for you. So what you'll have done so far as a group will be what you will do with those you've invited. Spend time getting to know each other before we get to the video part of the night. Now obviously you're a group of Christians coming together, so it will be a little different, but it's important that those in the group you've invited don't feel outnumbered by a lot of Christians. We want them to be comfortable and to feel like they are in an environment where they can ask questions, but also feel comfortable opening up. Now, in a given week, you won't see this part with me. I just wanted to bookend the video to give a bit of an explanation. So I'll come back again at the end and share again. What we are building here is an opportunity to put people in front of the gospel and to open up conversations about God. So I'll stop talking now, and we're going to play you a Life Plus from a few weeks ago that gives a good feel of what we're doing, and then I'll be back again after that. Hi and welcome to Life Plus. My name is Luke Taylor and I'm the minister of New Life Church in Teesside, and it is wonderful to be with you to share this time together. And this is a precious time. Let's make the most of it. We've called these times Life Plus because that's exactly what they're all about. Exploring the meaning of life, the place God has in our lives, who we are as people, and what God has done for us. But also Jesus promised that those who follow him would have life abundantly, life eternally, Life Plus. I hope that tonight will be an encouragement to you, a challenge to you, and to help you see more clearly who Jesus is and what Jesus has done for you. If you have any questions or things that you'd like to discuss after this part of the night, your hosts in the homes will, I know, be absolutely delighted to help you and talk through you with all of those things. But before we go any further, we're going to start tonight with a song just to help us get our minds in the right place. The song we're going to be listening to is People Get Ready. So let's use the time to get ready for what God is wanting to say tonight. This was recorded in our church with Chris and Karen when they did a night over there a few months ago, and I hope you enjoy it.
There's a train coming. We don't need
people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I wonder, have you ever heard that phrase before in your life? The idea being, of course, if there's something up with us, it's probably not wise to be pointing out what's up with others. Well, there's a story in the Bible that goes a lot like that. Jesus is teaching in Jerusalem, and a gang of religious leaders drag a woman in front of him. They say that she's been caught in the act of adultery. What should we do? They then mention what the law says to do. Now, it's not like today where maybe somebody caught in the act of adultery, well, what would happen? They'd be shamed on Facebook or something like that. No, there was at this time in this country a law, an actual law against this. And the punishment for breaking that law, well, it was severe. It was the death penalty by stoning. Now, I think you'll agree, that's a pretty big punishment. Interestingly, with that law is the punishment applied equally to men and women. Yet, who do they bring before Jesus? The woman. The man seems to have been let off, because if she's been caught in the act of adultery, there's more than one person there. And I just think, it's pretty typical, isn't it? That's what people are like. And then Jesus does something that none of them expected. He ignores them. He just crouches down and starts doodling on the ground in the dirt. I can almost hear now the awkward silence that there must have been. He then tells them, he says, "Let the one who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Well, I can imagine now the awkward silence got louder, if that's possible to happen. And Jesus then continues to doodle. And one by one, the men who were ready to stone this woman, they drop their stones and they very quietly walk away. Then only Jesus and this woman are left. And Jesus then stands up, looks around, and he asks her, "Where'd everybody go? Did nobody condemn you?" Jesus loves asking questions he already knows the answer to. And she says, "No one, Lord." And so Jesus said, "Then I don't condemn you either. Now go and sin no more." And she leaves. Although I strongly suspect from this point on, her life was never the same again. Wow. What a story this is. This poor woman, dragged in front of Jesus, her life in danger. Why? To make a point, to test Jesus. We know nothing about this woman other than what she did. We know she'd done wrong. She'd been cheating on her spouse, and we know cheating on your spouse or with somebody else's spouse is something we all agree is wrong. In fact, even in our very sexually diverse society, where almost nothing is considered wrong, this still hits most surveys as something our current generation would still agree is not acceptable behaviour: cheating. Having said that, stoning, well, to us today, that certainly seems, well, severe, doesn't it? Now, we need to understand about this law. Although this was the official law, it wasn't a penalty that was often carried out. And that happens sometimes. We still have some laws in this country that, whilst they're the law, I think you'll be struggling to find any times they're actually carried out. For example, a 1313 Act makes it illegal for MPs to wear suits of armour in Parliament. I'm willing to guess that one hasn't come up in a little while. But hey, get this. The Licensing Act of 1872 makes it illegal to be drunk in a licensed premises. That's right, including a pub. There's one I can't really think of a time anyone's been prosecuted for it. In Carlisle, there is an unrepealed law still today that dates back to 1157 that says any Scot wandering around Carlisle may be whipped or jailed. So any Scottish people watching may want to avoid Carlisle. So whilst this is the law's penalty for adultery, it's not actually something that was carried out very often. It was at times, but not as a regular thing. But here are these men, and they drag this woman, and they're demanding justice under the law. So why did they bring her to Jesus? Well, did they really want to stone this woman? Well, John tells us that they did it specifically to test Jesus, so that they could bring a charge against him. On any other day, they may well have looked the other way with this woman's sin. I mean, they certainly looked the other way for the guy. That's the hypocrisy of religious people. They enforce the rules when it's convenient to their cause, but look the other way the rest of the time. These religious men wanted to trick Jesus. See, Jesus preached love and forgiveness, but he was also a teacher of the law. The reason this woman was brought before Jesus was to place Jesus in an impossible position. If he agreed that she should be stoned, then they could say, Jesus, what happened to forgiveness? What happened to your mercy? I thought, Jesus, you were all about love. Now, if Jesus had said she should be forgiven, they could go, Jesus, I thought you were a teacher of the law. We could bring charges against you for that kind of behavior, you rabble-rouser. So how does Jesus respond? Well, here's the first thing. This woman was guilty. There was no other way really to look at it. She had done something wrong. It's not like they brought an innocent woman in front of Jesus. She was caught in the act. What that means, I'll leave to your imaginations. Under the law of the land at the time, stoning was the punishment this woman deserved. There would have been people in the crowd that day that would have gladly seen this punishment carried out. That's the strange thing with people, I often find, is we're very, very keen to demand justice when we see other people doing wrong. It doesn't take much sometimes. A story on the news perhaps for people to feel their blood begin to boil and demand someone needs to pay for what they've done. And we often demand a disproportionate response to somebody's crime. No different. We're just like those people. You know, if you watch the news nowadays, if you doubt this, just watch the news. When they interview members of the public after a trial, and see how often a member of the public or someone who's been involved will use the phrase, I hope they throw away the key. But Jesus didn't rise to that kind of thinking. At no point does he minimize the sin of this woman. At no point does he make excuses for her. What he does is make those who are demanding justice take a look at themselves, at their lives. He made those who lived in glass houses stop and wonder about throwing stones. See, it's very easy for us to see the problems with others and demand they pay the price for what they've done. But when the spotlight is turned on us, can be a very different story, can't it? And what happened is, one by one, those men left. None of them could take that first stone and throw it, because all of them realized at that moment their own shortcomings. You know, if we'd been in the crowd that day, we'd have been in the same situation. No man in that crowd was without sin, just as nobody watching and listening to me now is without sin. We have all messed up. We've all done wrong. And not one of us could stand before God and say, it's okay, I've got it right. If you had stood in the crowd that day, I wonder, what would you have done? Let he who was without sin cast the first stone. I'd have stood there. And then suddenly things would start coming to mind. Areas where I've messed up. And I tell you, I'd have been able to do nothing other than hang my head and walk away. Notice Jesus said, let he who is without sin throw the first stone. All it would have taken was one person in that crowd to have sealed that woman's fate. Just one person that had nothing they regret and nothing they've ever done wrong. But nobody in that crowd had a right to throw that first stone. Actually, that's not true. One person could have thrown the first stone and condemned that woman. One person would have been able to cast that first stone and could genuinely say that they had no sin. And that person was Jesus. He could have condemned that woman. He could have been the one to start off the punishment. But he didn't do it. People very often want justice. Jesus came to bring mercy. Thank God. Because that's the mercy we all need. Because everyone in that crowd had sin. Now, some may have been worse than the sin of that woman. Every single person who stood there needed the mercy of Jesus. They were all in the same boat. But only one person that day, only one person receives forgiveness by Jesus on that day. And that's that woman. Everybody else in the crowd needed it. But everybody else in the crowd hung their head and they left. That same mercy that Jesus gave to that woman was available to everybody in the crowd. But not one of them asked for it. They left that day the same people they were when they arrived. But the woman was changed by her encounter with Jesus. Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. Now go and sin no more. That same deal, that same mercy is available to us today. Do we deserve it? Well, just like that woman, we certainly can't say we're innocent. And Jesus has every right to throw the first stone because his house is not made of glass. But he didn't. Instead, Jesus got on a cross. Jesus didn't take away the severity of the sin. What he did do was take the penalty for it. He did that for her. He did that for me. He did that for you. He took on all of our sin. every wrong, selfish thing we've ever done. He took it on himself so that we could receive forgiveness. We all have a choice. Like those religious leaders, we can realize our own sin and then simply turn away with our heads hung low. Or like that woman, we can receive the forgiveness and the mercy that Jesus is offering. She didn't do anything to earn that forgiveness. Jesus gave it freely. But here's the thing. You can't have an encounter with Jesus without it changing you. And Jesus said to her, "Go and sin no more." And with the offer of new life he gave her, I believe she left that day a new person. Forgiven people live differently. Instead of living for themselves, they start living for him. And Jesus is offering you tonight forgiveness and a brand new life. I wonder, are you willing to receive it? I'd love the opportunity just to pray with you for a moment. That if you are looking at your life like those men, you see all the wrong things you've done, you see you're in no position to condemn anybody. And actually you realize you need the mercy of Jesus just as much as anybody else. I'd love just to take this moment to pray with you. Lord, I just pray for anyone who's in that place right now. They've been angry with the world maybe, angry with the injustices, angry with what other people are doing wrong. But Lord, the spotlight's been placed, Lord, internally tonight. Lord, I just pray, help them realize you are the only hope any of us have. And I just pray that you speak to them tonight. Amen. Amen. If you want to talk further or pray further with somebody, your home host is on hand, and I'm sure we'll be delighted to talk to you and answer any questions you might have. I hope that tonight has spoken to you. I hope it's challenged you. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. I look forward to being with you again next time. May the Lord bless you. And there you have it. The video is not a long part of the night. It's to get them thinking, to get the gospel, and then it hands back to you in the groups. The most important parts of the night are really what happens before and what happens next. If people want prayer, you do that next. If people have questions, you can talk them through. So it's an opportunity for you to encourage and engage with these people as they are taking their journey to God. The gospel message comes via video. Community happens in the group. Now, we had a song in that one. It's not always a song. Sometimes it can be a testimony. Sometimes it can be something that just makes people think. Now, the initial question is, I'm sure, is, well, who can I reach? That's not something I can answer here. That's for you to pray through and see where God leads you. But there's one thing I've realised. If we wait to find someone to reach before we say, I'm on board, it won't happen. All of those so far who've signed up, they've actually not started, as time of recording this now, they've not started their group. They've signed up and they're looking for people to invite. But the process of signing up has first encouraged them to find people, and hearing the feedback of how it's going, by the way, and that has been very encouraging. But it's also given them something to invite people to when those responses are a yes. And the yeses will come. The videos go out live every Sunday night. But you don't have to do it on a Sunday night. Chris and Karen, I hope you don't mind, but for example, they are looking to do theirs on a Monday. that's okay, because once the video has gone out, they don't lose access to it. Some groups are actually talking about starting from the first video rather than going with live right the way through. For example, the video you saw tonight might actually be spot on for someone who's turned up. Well, it's there. You could use that week instead of the live one. It continues to exist as a resource in sharing your faith. The reason it's live on a Sunday night, by the way, is that as we start to see churches planted in this way, we want to establish new believers into Sunday as the Lord's Day. But at the same time, we must allow flexibility in our reaching out. This is not just about planting churches, but about reaching people. You can do this in Billingham or Hartlepool or Stockton, where we have a church already, wherever, and just reach people without any agenda of planting. This is a tool for outreach and a tool for church planting. If you feel led to say, I'm going to give this a try, please let me know. I would be delighted to help and get you going. Come and chat to me about it. I'll tell you, I can talk about houseplants for hours. In fact, I have. I believe this can transform our outreach and our witness and help build healthy, growing believers. God bless you all in your life groups, and I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday. God bless.